I've already broken down my NFL mock draft 1.0, where I pick where I think the players are going to go in the 2021 draft. Now it's time for the fantasy spin. Where would we love to see these players land for fantasy football purposes? Now, we're going to keep it somewhat real here. We're not going to see 10 running backs taken in the first round because you know that's not going to happen. And some teams will have to make picks on defense and offensive line and other boring needs. In the perfect world, teams would still fit their needs, take the player they want, and we'd see our favorite wide receivers, running backs, and quarterback prospects go to the teams where they will be utilized the most. So here it is, NFL Mock Draft 2.0, the fantasy edition. All right, if you caught my first NFL mock draft, then you'll see some similarities, but you'll also see what's different here. No different at number one, of course. Trevor Lawrence is the pick. Let's not even waste time on that. And you know what? That's actually the perfect fit for him because it's a team that not just needs a quarterback, got a new coach, got some talent at wide receiver, at least a couple of them, DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault, and a team whose defense is still pretty bad, so he'll be slinging the ball. So I don't think I would change that pick even if I could. Now, at number two, well, it's probably going to be a quarterback either way. Again, in my real life draft, I do see the Jets using this pick on a quarterback, not an offensive lineman or anything else. I don't see them trading the pick either. Is it going to be Zach Wilson or Justin Fields? Don't really know, but it doesn't make a big difference. Either one is going to be their future franchise quarterback. So let's mix it up a little bit. In this case, I have Zach Wilson, who is widely speculated as being a possible pick at number two. We'll have him go there. Now, here we go. Number three, wasting no time. Let's mix things up here. The Dolphins have the number three pick, but you know what? This is a team that doesn't have to pick a wide receiver this early, and they don't need a quarterback. Let's assume they're going to trade down, or if you want to get crazy, let's say that Deshaun Watson deal gets made. We talked about all the possible landing spots for Deshaun Watson, who does want to get traded out of the Texans organization. Can't blame him for that. And so the Dolphins might actually be one of the best landing spots for him. If that happens, well, clearly they don't need a quarterback. Not that they would take one at number three anyways, but you know what? They're probably going to have to give up a draft pick to get it. So even if that doesn't happen, I do think the Dolphins could trade down here. San Francisco, they need a quarterback. They still have a good defense. They've got the wide receivers if they're healthy. And, you know, Kyle Shanahan has shown he can make any running back effective in his system. What's missing? The missing piece here, that franchise quarterback. This is a rare chance for them to make a move, jump up to number three, and they get, in this case, Justin Fields. It makes all the sense in the world. So that would be an ideal situation. You know, we've had enough of Jimmy Garoppolo playing half seasons, playing ineffectively at times when he does play. Let's get a new quarterback in here, groomed by Shanahan. That would be perfect. Now, the Falcons have been widely tied to potentially getting a new quarterback. I don't think it's going to happen. Look, Matt Ryan is still there. He's still effective. And contractually, it doesn't make sense for them to do this, to pull the trigger on a quarterback. I'm still not going quarterback with Atlanta here. They're going to get the best defensive player available in Micah Parsons. What Atlanta really needs is a running back, but obviously they're not going to get one in the first round, especially not this high. So we're going to skip Atlanta offensively. Now let's get to the interesting part. Cincinnati, yes, they can take a wide receiver. A.J. Green is going to be gone. They've already pulled the plug on John Ross. They need some depth here, okay, even though they just got T. Higgins, who had a nice rookie season, and Tyler Boyd is a very effective receiver. This is a team that wants to win by passing the ball. They proved that even when Mixon was healthy. Joe Burrow, in the first half of the season, was leading the league in pass attempts as a rookie. This is a player they want to get weapons to. What better weapon than not just the top prospect coming out, his former teammate in Jamar Chase? I mean, what could be better? With those three guys at wide receiver, this could be an unstoppable pass attack. And Bengals, well, rather than try to patch up that defense, they can add some pieces in free agency, and they can address that later. Get that high-end wide receiver, get Burrow a weapon that he needs. This would be perfect on both sides. Now, the Eagles are a team that has been connected to wide receiver. What about this, though? What if they get another tight end? Because Zach Ertz isn't coming back. He's also a free agent. The two tight end attack has worked for them. It seems like they, for some reason, insist on having Carson Wentz still as their quarterback next year. We'll see what happens. But why not get a guy who is an instant mismatch? One of the most athletic tight ends we've seen come out in recent years, Kyle Pitts, and pair him with Dallas Goedert instead of getting another receiver. This would be a great weapon to have for whoever's quarterback there. So I like Pitts going number 6, even though on paper it might make sense for the Bengals to get a tight end because that's a need for them, and then the Eagles to go wide receiver. Either way, this is win-win. I like Pitts in Philly. I think that's a direction actually that it wouldn't shock me if they go. Now, number 7, the Lions. It's almost a no-brainer. They've got to take a wide receiver with Kenny Golladay probably on the way out. So in this case, if Jamar Chase goes number 5, we're going to see Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, number 7 here in Detroit. This would be perfect. I just broke down who's the better prospect here for fantasy and who's going to be drafted first in reality between Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith. So don't forget to catch that video too. So Devontae Smith in Detroit would be ideal for him. And then at number 8, here's another move. We got Washington moving up to get a quarterback because we've already seen 3 go off the board in my fantasy mock, that is. So they know that they need to get their guy. They unfortunately made the playoffs, which means they don't have a top 10 pick. They're going to have to swing a deal to make this happen. Why not? Carolina can afford to move down. So I feel like Trey Lance is going to be a guy that they'll target. They can groom him to be the future quarterback. Look, Alex Smith is not the answer. It's a great story, great guy, but you know what? Not the answer for a team that aspires to make the playoffs, maybe even have a winning record this year. Who knows? But a 6 to 8 touchdown interception rate, it's not going to hack it for a 36-year-old. They need their future quarterback with Dwayne Haskins gone. So reboot the whole quarterback situation, make a move, and they're going to get Trey Lance. All right, let's move on to the next portion here. Denver, well, they've been sniped now. They were going to set their eyes on one of those quarterbacks. They could still go that route, but I feel like in this particular draft scenario, they're going to go defense. They need a pass rusher. A lot of issues here with Von Miller potentially going forward. So they'll get a guy who's fallen a little bit in Greg Rousseau. And then the Cowboys are thrilled that Sewell, who has been identified possibly as a top 5 pick, even as high as number 2 to the Jets, he's going to be there. They'll fortify that line that just isn't what it used to be and help give Dak Prescott some protection. So it's a great value pick for them. Not so exciting for fantasy, except that, well, maybe that'll help Zeke's numbers this year. The Giants, they've got a lot of issues that are not related to wide receiver. They definitely don't need a running back. They could use a reboot at quarterback too, but I don't feel like they're going to go that direction. So they're just going to give him more protection and go offensive line. Now, the Dolphins, who did trade down in this scenario, they still get an Alabama receiver, not Devontae Smith like I had in my first mock, but they're going to get Jalen Waddle, who some argue might be almost as good, and that satisfies their need. And of course, they've added additional picks later by moving down. So this is kind of a win-win on both sides there. The Dolphins can still get their guy to be their number 2 wide receiver behind Devontae Parker. The Chargers are going to get some protection for Herbert and go with Rashawn Slater at offensive line. I know some people think they could use another receiver. That is not their biggest issue here. They could use either offensive line help or defense. And in this case, I think Slater, the top prospect for them. The Vikings, they have to go defense. There's no question there. So they're going to address the secondary with Farley, who's slipped a bit because we're taking so many offensive players early. But now, here come the Patriots. Now, in my first mock, I did have them taking a different quarterback. But in this case, Kyle Trask, who got some love in the Heisman voting here and also has come on a little bit more questionable as a prospect as far as, you know, what he's going to look like accuracy-wise in the NFL. He's got all the athletic traits that you want, was very productive this past season at Florida playing in the SEC. Is it going to translate to the NFL? Well, if somebody can make it work, it's Bill Belichick. So here we go. Kyle Trask is going to be the pick for New England, and they get finally a guy they can groom as, I'm not going to say that, but maybe their next starting quarterback at least. And then at 16, the Cardinals, I know that in a lot of scenarios we see them taking either a wide receiver or a tight end. Let's just stop. Look, they don't need to just keep piling up receivers. They could potentially do that, but you know what? I'd actually rather see them get some more protection for Kyler Murray. He cut down on his sack rate significantly this past season, but still, if you get a chance to get a guy who can be a big monster up front, then that's always good, especially for a quarterback who loves to run. All right, heading on to the Raiders. Took so many offensive players the last couple of years in the draft. I think this team, they need to go defense, and they need some more pass rushing help. You know, ever since Khalil Mack has left, it just hasn't been the same. They need somebody alongside Max Crosby to put pressure. And so Jalen Phillips from the U, guy I really like, obviously, and I think he's a good pick here. The Dolphins back on the clock at number 18, and here's where, well, it might be a little bit of stretch. It's not super high, but still, running back going in the top 20, not likely to happen. But since the Dolphins do have multiple picks, they were able to acquire more draft capital later on based on my trade scenario. They go ahead and they pull the trigger on Najee Harris. They do need a running back, somebody who's the guy. You know, they were effective mixing and matching with Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed, but still, they need someone who is the guy. Their defense is solid. If they can get a guy like Harris, then I think why not pull the trigger now and address those other needs later on. So I got Harris going to the Dolphins. That would be a great match for them. Chicago absolutely needs a wide receiver. We know with Allen Robinson headed out the door, probably can't leave fast enough in his mind. Elijah Moore has been really productive in college. I know there's a lot of guys you could consider here. I think they go with Elijah Moore, and then you see Indy next. They're going to go the other Moore, Rondale Moore, local product out of Purdue. He's got a little bit more high-end athleticism, a little more versatility here. But with T.Y. Hilton gone, it does make sense for the Colts to take a wide receiver. Phillip Rivers is retired, so the quarterback situation is in question here. What is it going to be? Are they going to trade up? Maybe they're a team that makes a move to go in the high, top 5, top 10 of the draft. Who knows? Do they pull a deal for a guy like Carson Wentz or a project like Sam Darnold? There's a lot of questions here, but at the very least, whoever they do have a quarterback, they're going to want to get him some more weapons. The Titans absolutely need pass rush help. They just didn't get any pressure all year. They're going to have to go defense for sure, so that's not a question. The Jets. Now, we have heard some players say that they want Quinnen Williams, particularly a wide receiver, especially a guy like Devontae Smith at number 2. That is not going to happen. Sorry, they're not going to take a wide receiver with a number 2 pick. But they could take one later with their other pick, and if Rashad Bateman is there, he absolutely makes sense. Now, Bateman could go even higher, but Bateman has been tied more closely to the Jets for whatever reason lately. Might be someone they're more interested in. It might just be media speculation, but whatever the case, this is a guy also productive out of Minnesota, and he could be plug and play as a starter right there. The Jets need wide receiver help for sure. So if you're going to get a new quarterback, you might as well get him a new toy wide receiver too. And then the Steelers. Are they going to go quarterback? You know what? Big Ben looked really rough toward the end of the season, especially in the playoffs. It's time. I know that he's still going to be around for at least another year. But you know what? Why not get his successor now? So Mac Jones, coming off, of course, that national championship win, a huge season there at Alabama. He's a guy who, kind of Big Ben-esque, more of a pocket passer. He's used to throwing to a lot of weapons. You know, he's going to have them in Pittsburgh. This is a time for Pittsburgh to get a quarterback that they can groom. I know this is a lot of quarterbacks going in the first round, but again, this is our fantasy mock. This is where we would love to see them go. We don't want to see second, third round picks because you know what? They're probably not going to get on the field. If they put this kind of investment in these players, we know that the team is serious about giving them playing time. Travis Etienne is a player that could go to Pittsburgh if they do get another running back. We got him taking a quarterback. Why not Jacksonville? Look, I know that an offensive lineman makes a lot more sense, but think about it. In Jacksonville, you got undrafted free agent James Robinson, who had a great season. And then what? What do you have at running back behind him? There is nothing, no depth. They can't just rely on him to do it all by himself. Again, they have to bring in competition. Instead of getting a free agent off the street, why not get one of the top running backs in this rookie class? You look, Urban Meyer is going to want to make this his team. I don't see why he wouldn't pick a player that he's seen closely in college. Etienne is going to be one of the top prospects there. I think that he complements Robinson nicely. Robinson more of a physical runner. Etienne has that high-end speed and pass-catching ability. Get a little thunder lightning going. You know what? It makes a lot of sense. So in my fantasy mock, I got Jacksonville taking a running back. I think they really need to anyways. Cleveland still sticking with defense there. Baltimore, are they really going to take another receiver? Yeah, they probably should. Marquise Brown was the only one who really showed up in the playoffs. It's obvious that even though some guys like Devin Duvernay, he's a nice receiver as your third or fourth option, it doesn't look like he's necessarily going to blossom to that number 2 pick. So a guy like Olave from Ohio State, he does make a lot of sense here. More of a possession type receiver, not a burner. Well, you know what? They already got their burner in Hollywood Brown. So this is somebody who Lamar Jackson can target on those short to intermediate routes. A nice pick for them here. The Saints, are they going to take a receiver? Well, every year we want them to take a receiver. They might actually do it this year. We saw Michael Thomas, so many injury issues. I know he should be good to go for next year, but still, he can't do it by himself. Emmanuel Sanders, there's almost no chance he'll be back. The Saints are right now in salary cap hell. They have to get rid of some players. Sanders was pretty much a one-year rental to see if they could help Drew Brees get that Super Bowl. Didn't happen. I think Sanders is gone for sure. Tre'Quan Smith had that one great game. Is he still the answer there? No, they definitely need some more depth. So I think Justin Ross might be a player that creeps up boards a little bit. Normally, I wouldn't have him in the first round, but you know what? We've got so many receivers off the board in this fantasy mock. Somebody has to move up. And that's mainly because if you look down there, Green Bay, who are they going to take? Well, of course, another St. Brown. This time, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Look, he's not the same as his brother, Equanimous St. Brown. Hasn't really done a lot in Green Bay. Amon-Ra is a much higher prospect, got more size on him, and he's a lot better in winning those contested catches. So I do believe that's a realistic target for them. Not saying it's going to be the way it goes, but hey, this is my fantasy mock. Why not? Let's make it happen. Green Bay, you're finally going to take the receiver. That's going to be that number 2 complement. Or, well, maybe number 3 if you put Allen Lazard up there, because Lazard's my guy. All right, that's been the NFL Mock Draft 2.0, the fantasy edition. What do you think? Where would you like to see these guys go? Which wide receiver do you think should be going to teams like Green Bay, Detroit, and which running backs do you think should be included in the first round? I'd love to see more than just a couple. And then how many quarterbacks actually are going to be taken in the first round? I think it would be fascinating to find out if there's more than just 3 or 4 taken. Hit us up with a subscription. We definitely appreciate it. Thanks for watching.